high rocks to CrossFit. It's all big. People do it.
There's such a large community.
There is a large community that believes in like this all around athleticism, and it's a physical type and it's a personality type.
It is a personality lifestyle.
It is definitely
type
a personality.
Too, huh?
Oh my God, yeah.
I'm halfway there with the mustache and the factory tag, dude.
You got it.
I just need some Hokas, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, hybrid athlete starter pack.
Welcome to the Coach 'Em Up podcast. My name is Tim Riley. Zach Zillner is not with us today. He has a real job. And as of right now, it's 10 a.m. On a Wednesday. So he can't be here, but that's okay. Quick reminder, there are two types of people in this world. There are subscribers, and then there are non-subscribers. That's really pretty much anything you ever need to know about anyone. When you walk into work tomorrow or you go to your next family reunion, just take a quick poll. Just prompt the question, friends, family, are you subscribed? Anyone who raises their hand, you know they're an ally. Anyone who doesn't, disown them completely. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. You'll get notifications when we drop badass episodes like the one we're about to have. It also helps us out a ton. Thank you to everyone who's already been along this journey. Now that all that's out of the way, I'm incredibly excited to have landed the big fish and Alex Viada. Alex, how are you, brother?
Good, man. Good. I appreciate it. That was I don't know what to do with that intro, man. Great to be here, though.
Accept it.
I'll accept
the big
it,
tuna.
Thanks so much for having me on, though, man. Like we were just talking about before, man. Big fan of what you've done with this, and just excited for the conversation, man.
Thank you so much. Yes, you're one of those people who I have followed or at least known who you are since I got my start in training. In fact, I believe I heard you, and this is a conversation that comes up a lot. I think you were on the Just Fly Sports Performance podcast many, many, many years ago.
I think so.
And I remember hearing what you were doing and the style of training, which I don't know if you guys have heard of it by now. It's called hybrid training. Being a hybrid, I don't know. Maybe you guys, yeah.
But it's to me, it's mind blowing because
does it feel weird?
It
like
does.
When you look, like when you go on social media and you see what that concept has turned into, do you think to yourself, is life a fucking simulation? Like, is this real?
It's bizarre, man. I think the weirdest thing too is there was this delayed acceptance arc with the whole idea.
Yeah.
Like, because when I first started talking about it, when like the book first came out and all that, it was like there was no big deal.
Plug your book. What's the name of the book?
The Hybrid Athlete.
The Hybrid Athlete
was the original one. There's a new one coming out.
Uh-oh.
In 2 months.
In 2 months?
Yeah.
Oh shit. By the time this podcast drops, it'll probably be dropping in 2 weeks. So everybody,
sweet.
Yep, pre-save that bad boy.
And it's in print.
Wow.
Yeah,
let's go. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Well, but I think that's been kind of the mind-blowing thing too, has been like this resurgent interest in an idea, because when it first started, it was not that popular a concept.
Yeah.
And I think that
why do you think that was? Because it was too new?
I think it was because it was new to a certain extent. I mean, because if you look at the origin of kind of hybrid training and you look at like the mid-2000s, which is kind of when I started out doing this kind of thing, fitness was really, really siloed. And it's harder to almost imagine now, because this whole concept has a lot of acceptance. Like everything from Spartan races to, high rocks to CrossFit, everything else. Like it's all big. People do it. This is like kind of
There's such a large community.
There is a large community that believes in like this all around athleticism, and it's a physical type, and it's a personality type, and it's a lifestyle type.
It is a personality lifestyle type.
It is definitely a personality.
Too, huh?
Oh my God, yeah. But man, at the time,
I'm halfway there with the mustache and the fucking factory tag, dude.
You got it.
I just need some Hokas, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, hybrid athlete starter pack. Like, you got it, man. But dude, so like, but back then, everything was like, there was bodybuilding. There were bodybuilders, and there were powerlifters, and there were runners, and nobody like really wanted to be anything but what they were.
Yeah.
And it was this whole idea that like, if you do anything but your main sport, you're going to suck at everything, which isn't far from the truth, but that's not, like that was seen as a truism. Like, you don't do this. No serious bodybuilding coach or powerlifting coach would let you do any kind of cardio. They would basically disown you or say, you're on your own for that.
Right.
You know, and if you worked with a good running coach, they would say, okay, on your strength training, like, you know, we've got some strength training programs, which are all complete bullshit at the
Right. Yes. And calisthenics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, other than that, you're on your own. So it was a really bizarre concept. And I think a lot of the resistance was not necessarily that it quote unquote couldn't be done, but no one saw the point.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, and I don't know if it's almost a resurgence in like, the, you know, kind of the ideal, the lifestyle aspect of it, and people going, oh wow, those people look really cool. Like, that's a physique I want, or that's a performance range I want. And people started seeing the actual appeal of it as a concept, not just, okay, I'm not going to be the biggest person I can possibly be. Maybe I won't total 2,000 pounds, but I'm going to look good. I'm going to feel good. I'm going to be able to do a lot of different things. And once people started seeing more of those archetypes out there, I think they started getting more interested in it. And that's kind of where that lag was.
I'm really interested to know what, well, for you personally, like how, and you know what, let's do a little bit of background before we go too far, because I learned some things about you before we started this podcast, because I think people largely, when they think of you, they think, you know, all the things that we kind of aforementioned, like sort of tongue in cheek, but very seriously, Godfather, the hybrid athlete, author, coach, but you have an extensive athletic background I was unaware of. So can you take us back just a little bit? Like, what is your history with athleticism and training up until the point where you kind of become interested in this concept? Maybe you didn't even know it was the concept at the time, right?
Well, I think my athletic career is best described as like long but not very storied.
There's very relatable. That's most of us, by the way.
Exceptionally wide, not very deep. Because I think I've been athletic most of my life, or trying to be. Started swimming when I was a little kid, like all through middle school, high school, like football, judo, boxing, like so many other things, and really the only time in my life when I wasn't was when I went to college. And that's because Duke, D1 school, like I wasn't good enough to play any of those sports at
What did you
level.
go to Duke for? By the way, incredibly rigorous.
Originally I wanted to do political science and then wanted to go into finance.
Really?
But then when I was about halfway through school, I was like, wait, I'm really interested in like physiology and medicine. So then I wanted to go to med school.
Okay.
For long story short, like worked a bunch of careers, worked as a paramedic very briefly just to get some hands-on experience with patients, decided I didn't actually want to work with sick people. So ended up with biochemistry and then went into pharmaceuticals for a while.
Jesus Christ, man.
So that's it though. Like that's kind of like my athletic history too. It's been all over the place.
Yeah.
It's been dabbling. It's been, I was powerlifting for a while. I did the whole like triathlons, did ultra marathons.
You're kind of on the forefront of a lot of these things. Is that fair?
Yeah. When I was doing ultras, like even, 10, 12 years ago, they were not nearly as popular as they are now.
No.
And the rise in them has just been phenomenal to watch. I mean, like ultra marathons used to be the kind of thing that, you would talk about and people would go, wait, what's
what the fuck is that?
And why are you doing that?
Why would you do that?
Is this a show off thing? Like, is this just,
are you good?
Right. Are you just like too slow to run a marathon, so you just keep going at the finish line? Like, what is this bullshit?
If I can't run it fast, I'll run longer than everybody else.
Keep going. That's all there is to it. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these things, athleticism, it was all fringe. The whole ultra marathon thing kind of came out because, again, things were a lot more siloed back then.
Right.
Road running and marathon running, and, people had their sports, people had their areas of interest, and there was a lot less interest in things that were just challenging and fun, sometimes for the sake of being challenging and fun. And I think that's really been, and I don't know, I've been thinking about this a lot. There was a lot of this very absolute thinking, and it was, part of it was, why would you ever do an ultra? Like, a marathon is plenty of distance. That's the context. What is this nonsense? So it was like everybody was really closed-minded. And I really do think, and I credit social media to a great extent.
I was just about to say that. You beat me to it.
Because it makes everything seem cool if the right people do it in the right way. Like ultra marathons are not cool when you're doing them.
They're brutal.
Your feet look horrible. You're shitting yourself and in the woods. Like this is not a glamorous sport.
Only social media could put lipstick on that pig.
Right. The second half of the race, you're like, basically like trying to hold things in on both ends.
Right,
and you're just like slogging through the woods and you're like, this is the least glamorous sport I've ever done. There's nothing cool about this. I'm walking half this thing. This is miserable. But the optics of it are pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's nothing quite like this idea of just going out for 50 miles or going out for 60 miles and mountain ranges and everything else and being outside and like a totally different type of challenge. And I think when people started finally catching on to that kind of stuff, they were like, oh, there are whole like worlds of athleticism out there that we haven't explored. And I think a lot of the resurgence in hybrid training and in ultra distance and all that has just been this way of kind of capturing the imagination when people show, and I think people have figured out how to actually highlight the cool parts of it.
Yes.
And, like all the jokes about hybrid training being like, mediocre lifter, mediocre runner.
Being above average. And hopefully.
I got a solid C+ in every single course this semester. I am hybrid.
They say C's get degrees.
A C+, man. That's,
yeah. Yes.
But I think a large part of it too is just this idea, this enjoyment of the versatility, this enjoyment of being able to just walk up to any start line you want or walk into any competition and say, you know what, I may not win this, but I can have fun with it.
Yeah.
And that was always kind of the point of hybrid training. Was it was never just lifting and running, because like hybrid training was never meant to be about lifting and running. It was just any two sports or activities that don't specifically support each other.
We have to revisit precisely what you just said and say it slowly for people, because as the originator of the concept, there is what it is, then there's what it's been morphed into and popularized as.
Yeah.
So originally, right, the OG definition here and the true definition of hybrid athlete is
training two or more sports concurrently that do not explicitly support each other.
Okay.
And the reason why I think that's an important distinction is because if you're training for two or more sports that don't support each other, like you can argue, for example, when I first started hybrid training, I would say like rugby training, for example, could be considered inherently hybrid. Yeah. You're lifting, you're running, you're conditioning, you're doing all these different things, but there is one objective, and that is to be the best possible rugby player you are. There's no inherent compromise in the training, because depending on your position, you're a prop, you're a flanker, you're one of the backs, you've got a certain archetype and certain physical parameters that you're looking to optimize, and the best training program is the one that makes you into the best
version of what that archetype is.
Exactly. So in hybrid training, you inherently are making compromises, because training for one sport and optimizing one sport may do absolutely nothing to improve a separately scored performance in another. If I'm a powerlifter who's also running marathons, every time
is what you did.
Which is
yeah.
Every time I put together my training program, there's inherently a trade-off. Is this session going to improve my total? Or is this session going to improve my marathon time? And very often you have to make that decision, and you think the best program to improve my marathon time would not help me improve my total. Yeah. So how do I combine the two? So it's not that hybrid programs are inherently easier or harder or anything else. They just have a lot of complexity to them, because you have to be very, very judicious in what stimulus you apply, how often you apply it. You have to manage your recovery so well, because it's not just enough to be like, it's not just enough to be pretty good at everything. You can't afford to let one parameter slip, because then you're just changing sports. You have to constantly think.
That's a wonderful point.
You have to constantly think like, am I getting better at my chosen sports? In this week, or am I doing something wrong and pushing my recovery or like pushing my fatigue too high, losing a training stimulus in any one? So it is a structure, and it's a methodology that allows you to combine multiple different sports. It can be anything. It can be sprinting and distance running. It can be, honestly, it can be strongman and Olympic weightlifting. Like that, you can actually arrange those in a hybrid way with those same considerations, because there are programs that would optimize one and cause deterioration of the other. So a hybrid program is one that is intended to cause progression in both, even if it's not optimal progression.
So hybrid training is for people who want to chase the impossible.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Well,
yeah.
I think a big part of it, but I gotta I gotta say, like where a lot of it came from though was when I first started out with all this stuff. I come from this powerlifting background and everything, and like not when I was in high school.
Can I put you in a position to brag a little bit? Is that okay? I would love to hear, like, you know, what are some of your feats of endurance and strength, and how the overlap of those things, because you're an impressive dude.
Well, by standards back then, maybe, but these days people are doing this like on a typical weekend. I'm like, yeah, I deadlifted 700 and ran an ultramarathon in the same week, and people are like, yeah, that was in March.
I mean, for Christ's sake, dude, ultramarathon and deadlifting 700 pounds.
I mean, and I think the thing is, though, like, that was to me.
What year was that?
Oh God, what year was that? 2014?
Dude, people were not
2013?
fucking doing that.
Yeah,
People were not doing that.
all right.
I'm not going to let you get away with humility here. That's incredibly impressive, dude.
I think, okay, but I think one of the reasons, and like talking about humility there, one of the reasons is I think at this point in my career, I've been exposed to so many people in so many different sports that I think I am completely, continuously humbled by what people can achieve.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays. And I think there's just this constant sense of, like, I've always believed, like, you do these challenges for yourself, because no matter what you think you're good at, somebody somewhere on the internet is warming up with your max, literally or metaphorically.
So true.
And I'm like, yeah, I can do this great stuff, but you know, there are always people who are willing to push it further, and that's the goal, right?
Yes.
Every generation gets better. Every generation builds on what they do before. And to me, that's what's been like the most impressive thing about all this is, you know, here I am at my age, like still trying to keep pace and do some cool stuff. And I'm like, all right, you know, I'm just gonna keep doing what I can.
Can I ask how old you are, Alex?
45.
You're 45?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah,
you're a weapon. You're a weapon. Let's go.
You know, it's crazy, man. Like mentally, I think I'm still like, obviously everybody gets this when they get older. They're like, where do the years go, man?
100%.
I still think I'm 20. I still compare myself to like performance at 20-year-olds. Yep. And my knees are like,
listen, this is Alex. I'm so delusional. I mean, look, I'm 35. Excuse me. And, you know, like I'm running 10-yard flies. I work out with my NFL guys and stuff. And I get mad. I'll be like, so-and-so beat me in the fucking fly today. And I'm like mad. And then I have to remind myself, I'm like, Tim, you don't even belong in the room with these athletes.
Right. Like if you were,
get a grip, brother.
If you were,
you're delusional.
If you were on the playing field with them, they'd be like, oh wow, that guy's 35. He's a relic. He's a fossil. But in your mind, you're like, no, I'm not, man. I'm crushing it out there. I'm getting faster every day. I know.
I'm just happy that they let me jump in and tag along. Dude,
that's awesome that you're doing that, brother. Like I said, man, there are not a lot of people who are pushing that either. Like a lot of people. That's actually one of the things, like a lot of people let that explosiveness and speed and power go as they get older. And I swear to God, that's where a huge part of the decrease in performance
You're going to get
from.
me on. Let's chat. Let's talk about this.
Okay, let's do it.
So the general notion in the fitness and health and wellness space is like when it comes to longevity and quality of life,
the priorities need to be retaining muscle tissue for as long as possible, and cardiovascular fitness, right? And like, there's a lot of data to support that.
Sure.
I would like to introduce another consideration into the mix where muscle fiber typing should be a consideration. And part of that being is as we age, and now here's the other thing with studies like this, it's like, okay, we see this reduction in type 2 muscle fiber typing, but is it simply just because people aren't jumping, aren't slamming things, aren't doing those explosive activities, right? And then how much around stability, managing falls, body weight, proprioception, how many of those things can be maintained if there's some semblance of what I would like to call athletic training, which involves plyometrics and some sort of ballistic movements. Aren't those nearly as important, or at least shouldn't they be introduced into the conversation?
Dude, you're speaking my language here. That is one of my biggest frustrations, is that a lot of programs, especially as people get older, still tend to focus on, okay, let's just get people walking, let's get people, and all this is absolutely important. No question.
No discrediting that.
No discrediting that.
Right. Full
100%.
disclaimer. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Love the fact that people are being active and people are moving and all of that stuff, but there is something so profound about still being able to do things like jump and hop and move quickly, and because balance is, you know, especially any sort of dynamic balance, because, you know, static balance where you stay in one place and you keep your center of gravity in one place is one thing. Dynamic balance where you can control your direction of movement and be aware of your direction of movement and quickly change your direction of movement. Like that is, you look at the data on like orthopedic injuries and falls and things like that as people get older.
Leading cause of predictor of death is a fall.
Is a fall.
Right?
It really is, because especially when you get older, the cascade, and obviously like osteoporosis plays into this and everything else, but the cascade, the reduction in lifestyle that I've seen after somebody suffers one bad fall.
Yeah.
And they can't walk for a while, and then they start to get more health issues and they get more orthopedic issues, and it's just this snowball effect.
It really is.
And you look at how even people in their 30s already, they stop playing.
Yep.
They stop jumping. They stop sprinting. They stop doing plyometrics. They stop doing anything that they think can put them at risk, because they get more afraid of the consequences, because they don't recover as robustly and everything else. And I think all it means is, just like anything else, they don't tell you need to stop lifting when you get older. They just say you need to be smarter about it. You don't need to stop doing plyos and sprints when you get older. You just need to be smarter about it.
Right. Yeah. Just you don't need to do an altitude drop, Sarah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Tom. You don't. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I had an interesting conversation with Dan Bach. Shout out Dan Bach at jump.science, friend of the show. And the conversation that we had was, and the point he proposed, so credit him for this. He said, we were having a conversation on why don't people do this, and what is the reasoning behind it. And I think at the surface level, it makes a lot of sense, right? When you introduce velocity or anything ballistic, the likelihood of some sort of injury as you age just goes up. And there's an argument to be made, yes, but that would also be much higher in someone who just simply isn't physically prepared. This is why the weekend warrior, 45-year-old guy at Lifetime goes out to play the pickup basketball game and blasts his Achilles off his heel bone, right? But his suggestion was the consequence of injury or the consequence of not retaining those abilities, which one long-term is more detrimental to your quality of life?
Yeah.
And he made the argument that not maintaining those qualities or making an effort to, even with the risk of injury, is far more detrimental to your quality of life and frankly, potentially your longevity than the latter, which is just you run the risk of putting yourself to pull a hamstring, right? And if I'm looking at those things on balance, like, I got hurt because I was training hard and pushing the envelope and maintaining a quality so that when I'm in my 50s, I can still play a pickup basketball game with my daughter,
Yeah.
I'm choosing that.
It's wild though, because one of the things I always joke about is I've had so many injuries over my
dude,
lifetime.
same.
Like, and it's just and you're just like you recite them back and you're like, wow, at least 5 of those I thought were like career ending at the time.
Yes.
But I take them all on the balance and I get out of bed and I'm still like, oh God, everything hurts. But I realize, like, after a certain point in your life, that's kind of how people feel anyway.
Yes.
From not moving. I've got this accrual over time of small injuries that I recover from, but I can recover from them because I keep training, because I keep moving, because I keep finding new ways to move. And when injuries when fear of injury starts to overwhelm your body's ability to compensate for them, like you have a knee injury. So as a result, you stop running or you stop doing jump training or anything. And then you start to fear any sort of stimulus to that knee. You start to fear instability. And you fall further and further away from it rather than leaning into it. You're just guaranteeing yourself later injury. It's always one of the truisms of, like, when you look at a lot of the data on sport injury and recurrence of sport injury, how much of it comes from a fear and actually lack of balance and lack of agility in the injured limb. When a limb is injured, people have a tendency to reduce muscle activation in that particular limb, even when it's healed. They still have a high fear sense and a low pain tolerance in that limb. As a result, the limb doesn't move as well. It doesn't react as well. It doesn't balance as well. Always increases the chance for injury. The whole body works that way.
Yes.
Like the
likelihood of re-injury always goes up.
Right. And that is like your body in general. Like if you get older and you start getting afraid of moving it, you're going to move more hesitantly. You're going to not. How many falls, especially with elderly people, come when they don't have obviously don't have necessarily the motor control,
right?
But they're also worried about moving too quickly, worried 100%. About throwing a leg out, worried about throwing an arm out.
Yep.
People start to move slowly. They start to slow down. Reaction time starts to slow down. And over time, you create...
It exponentiates too. There is such a snowball effect there.
Yeah. And people become extremely, extremely brittle. And that's kind of it. You suffer.
Fear's the enemy once again, isn't it?
It really is.
God damn it. Inescapable.
I know, man. I have that on a t-shirt and it still holds true.
This episode is brought to you by friend of the show, David Gray of David Gray Rehab, creator of the absolute game-changing foot, ankle, and Achilles program. To date, it's helped over 8,000 people, including Zach and myself, get back to running, jumping, and playing pain-free. This program isn't just for athletes. It's also been used by coaches and physios in the NFL, NBA, and Premier League, as well as every other major sport. And if that wasn't impressive enough, you can get the full program 15% off lifetime access when you click the link in the show notes and use code TIM at checkout. The Coach 'em Up podcast has partnered with Eleiko.
Let's go!
Not only is Eleiko found in 85% of Power 5 schools, but they also offer at-home solutions from racks, flooring, rigs, barbells, bumper plates, your favorite accessories like straps and weightlifting belts, you name it, Eleiko's got you covered. Go to eleiko.com/coachemup and get access to the same equipment that they're using in the best facilities with the best athletes on the planet.
And now, back to the show.
I would love to dig in. I want to know your origin story and, you know, chasing the hybrid dragon and being sort of the pioneer there. So just take me like you're powerlifting, but you also have this endurance component. You know, what was it like in the beginning trying to marry those two things? And then at what point did you recognize that you were doing something different and that you wanted to share it with other people?
Yeah, I think so people who might remember from like the early 2000s, you remember all the message boards out there?
Yes.
Like, yeah, all the elite fitness and musclemag.com
Yes.
and
It's a frequent topic on this show. It's the best.
Oh, yeah.
When I first got into fitness seriously, bodybuilding.com was my first entry point, as it was for many.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude, some of like the most storied internet hellholes had their origins there.
So true.
Yeah, it's like OG internet. But like what was cool about that time though is I actually kept the training journal on one of these.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
And what it was when I started doing all this, first of all, it was honestly because I got challenged to run a 5K. And this was like back in 2005.
That you just saying that just struck me to the core because Alec Blennis has challenged me to run a 5K with him.
When I went out to do this, I thought I was in pretty good shape in 2005.
Were you doing any regular, consistent cardio?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So there's hope for me.
But
We're the same person.
Oh, yeah, man. And so I went out for a training run with the person who challenged me to do it. And I was like, this is going to be great.
Right.
And I have to admit, by the end of it, I was really hurting. And the end of it for me was about 400 meters into this training run. That was the end of my training run. Everything was going black. And I was like, man, like this is a really hard form.
Breathing through a straw?
Yeah, like what's going on here? And so I then suffered a catastrophic calf cramp, which was total bullshit. And sat down and said, you go on without me. That was oh yeah. It was because I did calves yesterday.
Really's grabbing up.
Oh yeah, can't do it. So that was humbling. And I realized like how, and you know, because this is like coming from a background when, like I said, in high school, I was playing football, doing all these other things. I was like, yeah, you know, I'm used to having a level of conditioning. I realized how much I had lost. Yeah. So I went out, I did the 5K, and I remember that night, it was like the night after my birthday or something was the 5K. I guess that was kind of the whole joke. And we're sitting there and I have a whole bunch of drinks with everybody and we're all talking about how much that sucked. So we all signed up for a marathon. That was a really bad idea too.
Whoa.
And it came out of this, like a lot of this original foray into endurance came from this resistant idea. Like, I don't want to be bad at something. Like you're telling me I have to suck at this to be strong. And Alex is just the strong guy. He's got no conditioning whatsoever. I'm like, I'm going to prove them wrong. Nice. And they're like, yeah, but if you do that, you're going to get weak. And I was like, no, I won't.
Fuck that. No, I won't.
Fuck that.
So it all happened out of spite.
It all happened out of spite. And you know what? When I ran that marathon, the marathon sucked and they were damn right. I got weak. I was like, wow, I suck at everything now.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, they were absolutely right. And I hated that.
Yep.
So that's where a lot of the hybrid thing was actually kind of born out of spite there as well. And that's when I started started like on that training journal, like putting up ideas. And what was cool is there were like runners on the message board as well who were like, oh, one of us now.
Right.
And so they would give me tips on running, and I found a running coach. And it was actually that kind of message board interchange of ideas, like, you know, thinking back on it, that really kept me encouraged, because I would have runners, you know, cheering on my running. I'd have the lifters still cheering on my lifting. And it was like,
cool.
It was. And, you know, and I was going along and going, okay, so maybe I'm the only guy that's kind of doing this now. But a lot of people are like, oh, wow, this is actually really cool. And I remember the owner of one of those sites was like, hey, man, like this is interesting. Do you mind writing a couple articles on it? So I just started hammering out some articles on it. And I guess some of those articles got traction. And like from there, I mean, eventually those articles are what led to that initial call from, you know, Juggernaut, JTS, to be like, hey, do you want to write a book on this?
Man, JTS, they were just the head of the curve on
Weren't they?
They
They really were, man.
They really were, man.
They'd probably be so mad that you're using past tense right now.
Yeah. They would. Well, and they're to that point in their defense, they're still crushing.
They're still crushing.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
But the landscape, like they were almost like first to market in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they were entirely, but particularly in the performance space.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that anyone else had a platform like they did, and then they had the app and just the whole.
Yeah.
They were really on
Ahead
the
of the
frontier, and they were. Here was the other thing. I think that they did a wonderful, shout out Chad Wesley Smith and those beautiful blue eyes. They did such a wonderful job of reaching out to other talented people.
They did.
During a time, which paralleling what you discussed around like you're a bodybuilder. The idea of sharing information, people were so guarded with their stuff relative to today.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that was a huge part of it too, because I mean, Chad he's a power lifter. There's absolutely no question. 100%, like that's his thing. But that didn't stop him from having, and you know, probably because of his background and his interest, he gave so much credit to different forms of athleticism and different forms of training, and himself as such a student of different kinds of athletics and different kinds of sport performance, and really saw the value in bringing that all together in one area. Wow. So
that's how the book started.
That's how the book started. Yeah. And that was an ebook, and they were like, what are you going to call this thing? And it was on a deadline. And so we just said, hybrid. And that's where it came from.
Holy shit. That is so cool, man.
Yeah. That was the origin of it.
You know what else is, and to try and paint a picture for our, you know, like 27 and under listeners, there are many of you. Yeah, my back hurts. My neck actually hurts real well. I slept weird last night.
It just gave me sciatica. I didn't even know I had it.
During this time period, it wasn't like the fitness landscape was not what it's like today, where there is
almost too much information. You can't, but at that point in time, when a really good idea was put out or a really good program, Windler's 531.
Oh, man.
Think of this.
Yeah.
I mean, it would blow the fucking doors off the competition.
Yeah.
Because if it worked and it was simple and it was applicable and it was easy to understand, or it was just first concept, first to market, there was no one else in that space.
Yeah.
And it was a space that, like you said, we were tucked away in message boards and, you know, articles, and like that was the only source of information, really.
Yeah. And what I think was actually notable about that time too is you didn't have to be charming to actually have your ideas get out there.
Oh, wow.
I know that sounds kind of odd, but like I realize how much in idea propagation now comes from having a good presence and a good platform. A lot of the people who spread ideas and who popularize ideas at this point are those who can communicate them very well. There was a long period of time there where some of the best training concepts.
Right, dude.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, you know.
Like, look at Paula Quinn and like Louis Simmons. Like, they weren't necessarily good communicators.
Louis Simmons would be like, oh, I mean, he was, no question. Everybody I know who's worked with him is like, he's a fantastic coach. But he was not an individual who was going to get on YouTube and put together a highly polished video full of charm, talking about the value of the methods and all that. Like, he could speak about it very articulately, but that was not his thing. So he would put the information out there and people would want it because it came from Louis.
Yes.
And because it came from West Side and because they had guys squatting, you know, a billion pounds. And I think that was it though. And that was why like back in those days, there were much fewer ideas, but And some of them came from terrible sources. There's no question. But in a lot, yeah, we got those. But a lot of them, like, you know, you knew the big names.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were these kind of mysterious, almost mythical figures that these things would come from. And people were like, oh man, this is like a program from West Side Barbell, or, you know, this is all of that kind of stuff. So it was a different landscape.
I have
man.
so much nostalgia listening to you talk right now, because there was this sense around these different camps.
Yeah.
Because things were so siloed.
Yeah.
There was almost like this, you know, like what my therapist would term as magical thinking around, you know, what this camp does and what it means. And that still reverberates today.
Yeah, it really does. And I think honestly, like, so a part of me misses that, but a part of me is also like, you know what, talk about peer review for a moment. The whole point of peer review in academia is to let other experts who have knowledge in an area actually go over something critically and try to find holes in it.
Yeah.
Peer review is just part of everything that is produced now. You can't put out a single piece of content without getting ungodly amount of peer review you never asked for. And most of it is worth every penny you paid for it.
Yep.
But some of it, I mean, like, nothing survives in the marketplace of ideas here without criticism.
Yeah.
And that is actually a brilliant thing. Sometimes it's not, because sometimes the criticism is, you know, not particularly helpful, or sometimes things are above criticism simply because of who produces them. But for the most part, there is a lot more peer review and kind of digestion of ideas at this point.
Wow.
And
That's a great point.
Well, it's led to a lot of debate, you know, like, you know, all the optimal bros and bodybuilding and all that. But I still think at the end of the day, the right answers are getting arrived at.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I asked someone, I was like, now they hadn't been doing this as long as we have, admittedly, but I said, do you think the state, I made the statement, I said, I think the state of, and let's just put everything, performance, all of it under the fitness umbrella for a bit. I think the average person, the average fitness enthusiast, the average coach is so much smarter and has so many more tools in their tool belt than 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Now, they vehemently disagreed with me. But then I had that moment of realization. I was like, oh, you weren't on bodybuilding.com. I was there.
Yeah.
I was there, dude. I was there.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I've also noticed too, actually, I want to get your take on this. And then I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier about how it didn't take off in the way that it has now, and kind of how you've watched that happen. I want to hear it from your perspective, because that's fascinating to me. But one thing I've seen, and this maybe ties into it, now with the science-based lifting community content machine, quite frankly, and the good that's come from that. But then, like, I'm also seeing this place where it's like, I knew this was going to happen, because it always does. It's predictable. The pendulum swings really way too far, right? And so now people are strapped in with seat belts and to chairs, and, you know, only moving this far range of motion for all these kind of bastardized concepts that are probably like good, but now have been, you know, sort of like morphed into whatever's happening now. And then what I'm seeing, and this is the inevitability, okay? It's like the fucking Matrix. It's like Mr. Smith in the Matrix. It is... what's happening is there's a resentment that's being built up towards that. And now it's like, why can't we just get back to make the gym fun and go smash some weights and work hard, right?
Yeah.
But then in the essence of that, to counteract how far this pendulum is swung, there's almost a pig-headedness around that sort of meathead ethos thing that, by the way, I come from. Okay, that's where I started, baby. Let's sling some weights around. Still love that. But I could see, I'm like, oh, here comes the tribe. And it's going to envelope. And I just wonder how long before we've swung all the way back in that other direction. And maybe does it swing all the way back? I don't know. I feel like it almost certainly has to.
Yeah, you know, and thinking about it too, and thinking about like a lot of the cry for like optimal movement and all that, I think where a lot of that actually comes from is everything is new to people the first time they hear it, which is the most stupidly self-evident statement ever. But it really is like a lot of people who are just getting exposed to biomechanics for the first time, who've been interested in the gym for a long time, and they're like trying to get their head around everything. And the first thing they're exposed to is somebody who speaks about biomechanics from a biomechanics background and goes, actually, you can quantify everything you're doing. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, so wait, I can actually like quantify, and like I can look at muscle movement patterns and all that and optimize it based on that. I really like that. That's comforting in a way.
It is certainty.
The certainty.
It's certainty. That's why people love it.
Oh yeah.
It gives you a sense of certainty.
I
If
think-
I do this, it's the best way, therefore I'll get my outcome.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of this optimal training comes from, because I think especially in an environment where, let's be honest, like, and don't want to sound too crippled and outdated here, but remember, like, a lot of this stuff takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
You do something for 5 or 6 years, you're going to realize 10 years later you were a beginner.
Yeah.
And there is still a push for people. Like, you'll have people coaching stuff who've been doing it for 3 years. And you're like, how? But there's this learning curve that's expected. Everybody sees how strong everyone else is. Everyone sees how fast everyone else is. Everyone sees how authoritatively everybody else speaks on things after not a lot of experience. So I think there's this, but there's this idea of this like accelerated development curve where if I've been doing something for a couple of years, I should be an authority on it.
I'm a master.
I'm a master.
I must be.
And so I can't afford too much nuance here. I can't afford too much uncertainty because I need to know what I'm doing. And it takes a long time to be able to admit uncertainty.
It does. It's a gray, and even for myself, and just outside of the training space, in my own personal and emotional development, allowing gray to exist, or allowing myself to exist in it, actually is probably a better way of stating that.
And it's really tough. It's like the first time you read a textbook on a subject and you read the textbook and it's overwhelming. And then when you finally memorize everything in the textbook, you're like, I know all there is to know. And someone says, well, what about all the stuff that's not in the textbook? And you're going,
Fuck.
There's stuff not in the textbook. It must be wrong.
Yeah, there's no way that's right.
And so I think a lot of this pendulum swing.
Stuff not in the
It's gotta be. But I think what we're seeing right now is really it's a process of this rapid, like, and it's only really been like the last 5 or 6 years, this sudden rapid inundation of information to people.
Yes.
And the existence of easily accessible academic courses, or, I wouldn't say semi-academic or pseudo-academic, but like courses you can get from other coaches on biomechanics, on movement, on sports psychology, on this, that, the other. The amount of information, people are able to suddenly get access to the textbook in a couple years of learning. But I think that's created this very almost mechanistic based, very research evidence-based approach to things. And then I think as some of these people are aging out a little bit, they're realizing there's a lot more nuance to it. So I'm torn as to whether or not it's a pendulum swing or actually an evolution of the space. And I think
that's fascinating.
I think what's going to eventually happen is we're kind of going to reach this equilibrium where that first crop, who is now kind of saying, oh, well, there's a lot more, like, let's just have some fun.
Yeah.
And the new crop who's still going, no, like, I have to start the pull down like this to optimize this fiber. And you're going, you're 150 pounds, brother. Like,
it's so true.
No offense to guys.
You're worried about line of pool, dude. You just got
right. You just and I think that's a big part of it, though. So I think a lot of it is going to stay at this kind of steady state of people who are new to it and people who are very much on the research side, constantly arguing that side. And I think a lot of people who have gone through this already, kind of maintaining the more like, hey, there's some gray areas here. So I really think
you've changed my mind in real time on this. Because I mean it. I think that feels as you're speaking, and I'm like, I think that that's closer to in likelihood of where we're at, why we've arrived there, and where we're headed than I think because I think historically it's been a pendulum thing, but I think the game has changed.
Yeah, I really do, which is scary if you think about it. Like
it is.
It's wild how quickly information propagates these days. And I almost can't fathom what it would be like learning about all this stuff for the first time now.
I know.
For everybody new to this space, man, like, so much respect for all you guys. Cause
seriously,
back then we
hold
only
on to your butts.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. There's so much. Yes. You look at something and you are just inundated with information, 90% of it good and 10% of it terrible. That's being generous. But, but still, like, and you got to know, because back then there was a lot less stuff to look at.
Yes.
And some of it was bad, but things were pretty much tried and true. Like, by the time you heard about 531, a lot of people had used it.
Yes.
Now you find a program, you don't know anyone who's used it.
Right.
You're just like, okay.
I don't know. I like this guy.
I don't know.
Good looking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks does.
She has the butt I want.
I'm following that.
Yep. Let's do it.
That. And, so I think that's kind of the state we're at right now.
I want to go back to when you author this book, The book is released, and there's certainly, I mean, I remember the waves that time period you made, but you said a comment earlier which fascinates me, and I just can't wait to hear your perspective on this. Not initial, it not grabbing the market share, for lack of a better term, that it does currently today, and like, walk me through like. Being in your shoes is just wild to think about. Introducing this concept, watching, you know, it grow, and then kind of like this place where we're like operating here, and then this sudden spike and takeoff. Yeah. Just from your point of view, what has that journey looked like?
You know, I think early on, because I'm very, very grateful to like all the clients who worked with us through all the time, all the people who like read my book over the years and talked to me about it and all that. There's kind of been this constant stream, to me at least, of people who are like into it and involved with it. And it's really only been the last couple of years when I started seeing the word hybrid elsewhere and going, wow, you know, here's somebody talking about hybrid who has like 500,000 followers, and you know, and like I'm like, wow, that was unexpected. And I think, but you know, I think what it's been kind of like is it's I almost feel like I've just you know, been sitting here, you know, like some little like artisan in a village somewhere who makes something and suddenly hears that it's like on sale in the capital, you know, and it's like, oh, well, I guess that's cool. Okay, back to work.
Just back to work.
Back to work. You know, this is an eccentric old man out in the village there somewhere hammering
I
horseshoes.
don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit. Whatever these people in the big city like.
Who's wearing the shirt? Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think there's been a little bit of a feeling like that. Like, okay, yeah, you know, I've just been doing my thing here over the years, and it finally caught on. And again, I think.
Do you have any validation or feelings of like? Does it feel good?
It does. But I think the thing is, it's always been fun. Right. And, you know, it's been such a part of like how I've trained and how I've coached and so on. I've always really believed in it.
Yes.
Like there was never any doubt, because the only thing I wanted to do was help people feel like they could do whatever they wanted, and to hell with anybody who said that a sport wasn't meant for them.
Yeah.
Like everybody who's been like a power lifter or a bigger guy who showed up to a 10K and said, should I be doing this? Or like every runner or cyclist or somebody smaller who's walked into a gym and said, do I belong here?
Yes.
And I want to be like, fuck yeah, you do.
Yes.
Fuck yeah, you do.
That's an awesome mission.
You've been doing whatever you want. You've been running marathons all your life. You look at powerlifting, you go, shit, I want to be strong. Should I do that? Fuck yeah, you should. Go, do it. And I think I felt since day one that is like, I love that idea. And I've always wanted to perpetuate that. So for me, I've never really doubted it. And I think the validation has been from just people being like, yeah, you know, I'm so glad I can do this. I'm so glad what my body can do. So seeing it get popular now, it's awesome. And I love that so many more people, because, you know, I talked to, you know, Spencer Nadolski.
I don't.
He's a physician. He's very much in the fitness space and wellness space. Very, very brilliant guy. Great guy. If you ever want to have a physician like him on your podcast, go check him out.
I would love that.
Spencer's awesome. He was part of Docs Who Lift. He himself, but he's said a long time ago, I worked with him pretty early on, and he said, you know, this hybrid training is pretty much how I would train my clients, my patients.
Yeah.
He works in obesity quite a bit. He says it's how I would train a lot of them for health and for life. And there was always this kind of thought that, yes, this is a performance methodology, but this incorporation of strength and endurance and agility and all this kind of stuff, the ability to do all this together, is kind of what human health is about. So now I think seeing all those archetypes out there, all those people who are out there and they're lifting and running and shooting trend. No, I mean, lifting and it's not trend, it's SARMs. But they're, you know, sorry.
So good.
But they're lifting, they're running, they're out there in the sun, they're sprinting, they're lifting. Yes. I'm like, that's cool, man. Like the fact that is cool is such, I think in that way, it's such a validation. I was like, I knew this was cool.
Fucking knew it.
I knew this was cool. Now you all do too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
I want to impart this upon the people, but I think this is an important part of the discussion. And I don't want it to get lost. So not only were you doing this, you pioneered this, you put it into words, you gave it a structure and a definition, and and you continue to walk the walk in your own training, right? You fucking did it. But paralleling that as well, and we haven't discussed this yet, is you've coached so many people.
Yeah.
So many people. By the way, Alec Blennis
Yeah.
being one of them, right?
Yeah, he's on our team.
I mean, I know.
He's, yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
And introducing this idea and then now problem solving it.
For, I mean, probably thousands of clients you've worked
Yeah.
with at this point.
Yeah.
Sharpening that tool, problem solving, getting confronted with different people from different backgrounds.
Even as I think about all that, I'm like, that feels, the scope and breadth of that feels just impossible.
And incredible.
Dude, it has been, I say it has been such a privilege, man. Honestly, like and that's why I say like the people who came to us early on and the people who were like, working with the, 350 pound, like pro strongmen and like, working with a lot of these and then just like working with like good marathon runners and all that. And just those people come and just how much that's taught me over the years. It's wild. And
what are some of the consistent ideas, themes, or principles that perhaps like the through line when you're thinking about what are the considerations and important pillars of programming appropriately for someone who wants to train like a hybrid athlete?
I think one of the most important things is that you don't just jump into a hybrid program. Like I've always said, and this is actually one of the things I talk about in the book a lot, is you evolve to a hybrid program. Because you, in all your training and all your years, you have a certain, let me take this as an example. Somebody is a powerlifter and they decide they want to start, running distance. One of the first things they might be told is, okay, start out with nothing but like some easy cardio, like let's ease into it, do some cross training and everything else. A powerlifter or somebody from a strength background has a lot of skills that they can already leverage to make themselves a better runner. They have excellent balance, proprioception, explosive power. You can have these individuals doing things like plyometric drills much earlier on, things that'll improve their running economy, things that'll improve their rebound, things. You have to leverage an athlete's current strengths in their new discipline to really get the most out of the athlete.
Do you think coaches have a tendency to baby people too much when they're...
Exactly. They think, well, you're not a runner, you're not from a running background, we got to start you very easy on the conditioning side. But running isn't just about putting in miles. Running is also about all these other adjuncts. Again, different speeds, different types of running sessions, some speed sessions, some plyometric sessions, all that. You can have these athletes doing those sessions. You can have your power lifter doing uphill sprints.
Yeah.
And you can have them doing a full track like plyometric session and a whole bunch of other things and have that be a critical part of the running program because that's not going to hurt them.
Yeah.
They can
handle that.
They can handle that. So they're evolving to a hybrid program by taking some of their current strengths and leveraging those into their new sport rather than saying, okay, let's start out on the most basic level of my new sport. So I think that's one of the biggest things is looking at athletes in terms of what they're good at that can be applied to their new sport, not what they're bad at in their new sport and need to start with.
God, I love that.
So,
you know what that reminds me of? Actually, speaking of Alec Blennis, he has been putting out some really good thought-provoking stuff recently surrounding the idea of zone 2 cardio. And basically the ethos of that being, and I hope I'm not butchering this, Alec, if you're listening, but what do we typically do in the coaching or anyone under the fitness umbrella? We just say, you just got to get your zone 2 cardio in, right? And the argument he's made is that, well, hold on now. Like zone 2 is something that you do because you need to continue to build the engine because you've been pushing it, right?
Yes.
It's what you get to do or maybe what you have to do in order to continue to keep the engine running, right? And still accumulate good cardiovascular training because you've been doing the other things.
Yes.
Is that a fair assessment in your opinion?
Absolutely. I've always considered it kind of like the carbs in a performance diet. you've got
analogy,
you've got like your speed work and your threshold work as like your fats and protein. Like that pretty much, no matter how much you're taking in, you've got to determine that first and what you need, and then like everything beyond that is your carbs.
Yep.
Like that's and so like
what a great analogy.
But that's like, because if someone's like, man, I've only got 2 hours a week to do cardio, you're like, okay, well, 88-12, we're gonna have you out there running easy for 100 minutes and they're just like, doing speed work for 20. You're going, no, they can handle more than that.
Yeah.
Let's get them doing that, because they're not going to destroy their recovery by doing 50% like
and they're going to be limited by their own ability anyway, right?
Exactly. So I think zone 2 is hugely important. Again, I'm never one to say if people hate the idea of running and hate the idea of doing that and they're like, but zone 2 I can get my head around, I'm like, please.
All right, well then fucking
do it. Absolutely, man. You will be 99% better off than you are right now. But yeah, for somebody who's just they're like, yeah, I'm interested in performance, like zone 2 is what you layer on because you can tolerate so much of it. It's got a training effect and you can tolerate huge amounts of it, but there's a lot of other stuff that is more bang for your buck that you can be doing.
Now that we are at where we're at with the hybrid athlete, the evolution of it, and would you say that it's fair to say that the now generally accepted definition would be you run and lift weights?
That's what a lot of people think of it.
That's like the, well, my question, I wonder how much time you spent thinking about this is, you see where we've gotten to. Where do you see it going?
Honestly, I think a big part of me, I think right now the lifting and running is really capturing people because I think it does, like, there's a certain body type.
Yep.
There are a lot of really cool sounding challenges out there that people are doing. And I think like sports like high rocks, which I still maintain a single sport can never be hybrid, but that's a totally different subject. Sports like high rocks are getting extraordinarily popular.
Yep.
And I think people are seeing that like lifting and running together, like this is a combination that there's a lot of information out on. There's a lot of like programs for it. There's a whole lifestyle around it. This is easily acceptable and it's accessible.
Yes.
It is hugely accessible. And there are a lot of programs out there. You can find so many programs that are like, here's a good lifting program with a good running program. And
do you think that's because I've seen this come up, not to rabbit hole us entirely on this topic, but like I feel what happens a lot is people just say, oh, I already have my lifting program, so I'm just going to take this running program and slap it on top of that, and let's fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
And people do.
Yeah, that's how I started.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, man, let's just fuck around and find out. And I fucked around and I really found out. there was a lot of finding out going on there.
What are some of the, okay, so let's return back to your train of thought. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
Yeah. I think that's going to continue to be the most popular form of hybrid training, honestly.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is I think as that becomes more and more accepted, people are going to start pushing the limits a little bit more. Because it's like everybody out there is like, yeah, cool, I can lift a bunch and do a 5K.
Yeah.
But where do I want to go with this?
Yep.
Oh, cool. Let's now that I'm really into this whole thing, and now that my introduction to training, when you get the whole generation of people who their introduction to training is like a hybrid type training, I'm like, oh man, I really do like the idea of doing some like trail ultras and things like that.
Yeah.
So they're going to push that side of things, or more people are going to go, hey, our powerlifting seems really cool. Like,
yes,
let me try to do this competitively. So I think it's now becoming.
You think hybrid's going to be the new gateway drug?
Gateway drug is exactly what I was thinking. I think hybrid is becoming a gateway drug in its own way because it is it's
what a full circle moment. You know,
really,
you
right?
find hybrid because you're doing ultras and powerlifting, and then now hybrid athletes are going to find powerlifting and ultras because of hybrid.
I do think that's
Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn.
but I think that's what's so cool about it though, is because now people are like, it's bringing a lot of these other sports to the forefront again because people get into hybrid training, that's their intro, and they're like, I belong in the gym, I belong out there on the road.
Yeah.
Why don't I belong out there on the trail? That's great. That's what I wanted all along, man. And if people are then like, hey, I like running, maybe I'll do a triathlon, God bless your soul. And then you're like, I really like cycling and I want to get into like mountain biking or crit racing or cyclocross if you're truly insane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, that's been it, man. I think it's really going to I think it's going to help a lot more people do a lot of these crossover sports and move a lot more seamlessly between them. Because I think, again, even 10 years ago, like once you got into a sport, man, that was your definition. That was you.
Yes.
If you started doing triathlons, you were a triathlete.
I'm a triathlete.
Yeah, I'm a triathlete. That's what I do. That's what my club is.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sticker on my car. I have the stupid Iron Man tattoo.
Yeah, I saw it. I clocked it right when we walked in.
Yeah, it's because that was the thing. Like,
That was the thing.
That's what you
did.
were. But I think now it's so much. It has the possibility for it to be so much more seamless. And people going, you know what? I've got this fundamental engine and capabilities that I can leverage as a starting point to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I honestly do think that's where it's going. It might be wishful thinking, but I really do think.
No, I think you're really onto something. I agree with you. And when you look at it, like, you know, let's look at what the bastardized definition has turned into, which is like lifting and running. It's like, we're just talking about GPP, right?
Right.
Like that's at a high level, right? Just being super generally prepared.
Yeah.
And perhaps missing some small gaps in most people's cases. Like I wonder how many people are like, you know, doing legitimate sprinting or legitimate plyometric training, not just like a box jump, which by the way, no hate on box jumps, just saying.
Yeah.
Here's my bet, okay? And for the listeners who've been listening to the show, often you know what's coming next. My bet is that because of the evolution of like CrossFit into hybrid athlete and like Spartan races, and then into and then like the sort of commingling of those things, and then now we have like World Fitness Project and High Rocks and the hybrid athlete boom. My hope, my wish, and this kind of brings us full circle to what we were talking about earlier about training for athletic qualities, not just endurance and strength, but like speed and power as well. My hope is that there's going to be a wave of people who find this empowerment from the hybrid training and realize they are so much more capable, but they want something else. You know what I mean? Like they're on the precipice.
Exactly.
And I hope that creates the funnel into people wanting to sprint. And like, how fast can I run a 40? You know, how fast can I run 100 meters? What about 60 meters?
Yeah.
You know, what can I broad jump?
Because
what's my vertical jump?
Exactly. And because that's been the whole thing all along that I've said is I don't want people to think that something is not for them anymore. I want them to have the tools and the mindset needed to do anything athletic they want to. And I think this is a great way to get people into it.
Shout out Gateway Drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Big shout out Gateway Drugs. Shout out Hybrid
That's going to just get pulled and like put somewhere. Shout out to Gateway Drugs.
Yeah. The Coach 'em Up podcast loves drugs.
They love the Gateway Drugs.
They love Gateway Drugs. Tell me more about the new book coming out, because I want to know, and to the precise extent that you can share, why? Okay, first of all, why? What has changed, or what needs to be updated, or what needs to be reconsidered, or reformatted, or refined that has taken you to the place where you're like, it's time?
I think the first book started as just a compilation of articles, really. Like when I put the manuscript together, I put down all my articles on a single sheet of paper, put links in between them, and wrote another like 20 pages of content.
Incredible.
And was like, this is all I got to say. This is it. And that was much more focused on, can this be done? What are some basic considerations? But I think since then, between 2009 and 2014, which is when all the stuff for the book came together, I think since then, obviously, there's been a lot learned.
Yes.
And I really think to do good hybrid programming, you need to have a high level of knowledge in each one of the sports that you coach. And a big part of that is because it's easy to put together a program that is high volume. It's easy to put together a program that covers every single muscle group. It is much harder to put together a program for somebody who's only got 3 days a week to train. And hybrid training is the ultimate in like, you have to put together a program with the minimum effective dose.
Economy is above everything.
It is.
Pragmatism and economy.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the book actually talks about like relevant physiology, and then here are the considerations you have to make in each sport. And here it's a much more in detail of like, what is it that you actually need to know about each one of these sports and the body systems and how things work. And what I tried to really do in the book is give people the tools needed to put together their own programs.
Yeah.
Because I think the first book was more to like capture interest and like sort of capture the imagination.
You're introducing an idea at this point, a concept.
Yeah.
And
now it's a lot more of like, okay, how do you do this? So the book has got like 20 programs in it.
God.
It's got them all modular, like mix and match. And
this is great.
So
this sounds like it needs to be standard learning. If you're getting if you've been a trainer or coach for a long time, you should be excited about this thing. This sounds awesome.
Well, what I'm hoping in the book is that if you are a really good powerlifting coach, you're going to read the book and all the powerlifting stuff and lifting stuff is going to be review.
Yes.
But you're going to agree with all of it. And
You're going to be like, yeah, okay.
This is what I would tell other people who are interested in coaching powerlifting, and the same on the endurance side and everything else. And hopefully all those critical lessons are kind of put together in a way where people go, okay, I think this now fills in the gaps I need to be able to actually put together a hybrid program of any sort.
Very fucking cool.
That was the idea. And it's in print.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so stoked for that. Like when I actually have a gloss.
Oh, it's going to be very cool.
Dude, I was so stoked.
Yeah. What a monumental, moment. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's incredible.
Yeah. It's like, talk about something like.
How long has it taken you? Well, like, okay. Also too, when you were like, all right, I gotta write this thing.
Yeah.
So daunting.
Oh, man.
The idea of writing a piece of literature. And then, I mean, anyone who's ever written a program, and many of you are trainers and coaches listening to this, and you, particularly if you've had to write a program for a lot of people, a team, or taking it a step further in some cases to sell it on an online platform.
Yeah.
If you care, you're confronted with all of the possible scenarios and considerations that you need to take into account in order to do a good job.
Yeah.
When it comes to things like that, I'm putting my name on it. The perfectionism, it's a double-edged sword. One, I'm going to do my best.
Yeah.
Two, paralyzing, because how do I format this thing the best way?
Right.
What do I leave out? What do I keep in? What's it, now take me through that process. Cause to me, I mean, I get anxiety just thinking about trying to sit down and write a book and like the way that you have.
Blank page fear is paralyzing. You're literally looking at a blank Word document going, okay, time to write a book. Fuck.
The one thing you have on your side is the years of experience and being quite literally the foremost expert, but even still.
Yeah, and that's what was so daunting. And what I finally had to do was just start saying, okay, what are some random facts about hybrid training I can put down that people might find interesting?
Okay.
So I just started writing down like random ideas and random little lessons and like, okay, here's a line from the last call with one of my clients that I thought was interesting about how to arrange it. And I just started putting down those down on paper.
Yeah.
And then I started fleshing them out a little bit. Like,
Very
okay,
cool.
Now that I've fleshed this out a little bit, what context would this go in? Does this belong in its own chapter? Like, is this a separate idea? And so I think it started growing in pieces like that, a little bit like bacteria on a petri dish.
100%.
Yeah, like little pieces of content here and there that just started growing on their own. And then finally I was like, all right, now I've got an idea. Okay, this can be the flow. Here are some things I keep coming back to. And so that's why there was a lot of stuff that got erased. Like I would randomly think about like a conversation I had with somebody explaining like why we do like, what is it that zone 2 does that zone 3 and 4 doesn't, if there is anything? And so, okay, so how do I explain the architecture of the heart in such a way that all of this makes sense? How do I explain how the heart adapts to something? Okay, cool. Here's a section of a chapter that I think is relevant. And every now and then, like I would say about 75% of those, by the time I started fleshing out the book, I was just like, yank it, yank it, yank it. And at that point, it kind of had momentum. At that point, I had those like critical lessons, those interesting topics. And then honestly, I just started writing chapters the way I would want to read them. If I was able to sit down and just sit there and talk to one person and be like, let me try to give them as much information as possible in like a way that, because I'm going to assume that my audience is informed.
Yeah.
They're educated, but maybe not educated in that specific application of the topic.
Yes.
And so I think keeping that, like I wrote the book for one reader. And I think that was like, it's like anytime I give a seminar, I give the seminar for one person. I think who is the person that I want to be speaking to here? And in the process of speaking to them, obviously there are going to be a lot of other people who are interested in it. The editor is going to help me out with that. They're going to help me out with language and everything else. But for the most part saying, okay, let me just picture who I want to talk to here. Like an aspiring coach or athlete, 4 to 5 years of experience, maybe more. They're interested in this topic. They know a little bit about a lot of these areas. They may have deep knowledge in one of these sports. They just want it all laid out systemically. And that was the tone I adopted. That was like the level. And finding that one person to talk to, man, has been like, when it comes to anything from writing to public speaking to anything else, the most helpful thing I've ever found.
That is an incredibly wise, practical approach.
Dude.
Find the one person you're trying to speak to. Because in the essence of what I was of bringing up this question, it's what I've found is that anytime I try and make something for everybody, everywhere, under every circumstance, I actually make something for nobody.
Yeah. Dude,
it's just kind of, it's like the hybrid athlete analogy you used. It's like kind of good at a bunch of stuff, right, like not elite at any one thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a much even poorer job than that, because at least hybrid is 2 things, you know, instead of 25 different people with all these different.
It's really tough, man. It's like, I used to be terrified of public speaking, for example. Like,
really?
Yeah. Oh.
You're such a great, conversationalist.
No.
Have you always done well one-on-one?
Actually, like I've always done better one-on-one, but I used to have real like social anxiety about like speaking to other professionals. I mean, this is years ago.
Sure.
And like you put me in front of a crowd, I would just be like, this is my worst goddamn fear.
Fucking fighting for your life.
Fighting for my life. And when I first started giving seminars, well, that's when I realized like I'm going to go out like before the seminar starts and just like talk to 1 or 2 random people in the crowd, make friends with them, find out why they're there.
And talk to them.
And I'm just going to talk to them the whole time.
God, what a great idea.
Dude, that helped so much, because I would literally just start talking and I would like look at them about 50% of the time. And I'm like, I'm just talking to that person. And man, that is a game changer, because, you know, at the end of the day, like as much as we all want to pretend we're different, like for the most part, if we can engage 1 or 2 people in the crowd, we're probably going to engage most of the crowd.
Yeah.
And everything is going to be a lot more authentic. Everything is going to be a lot more cohesive. Mm-hmm. There's nothing more jarring.
You're less miserable.
You're less miserable. And there's nothing more jarring to a reader or like a listener than when you jump around between like a super high level of detail and a super low level of detail, and you gloss over one thing and you go way too in depth on another. Because, you know, as you think of things, you're trying to appeal to a different person every time you talk. And you're like, no, man, I got to keep this consistent. That's the person I'm talking to.
Point to something I hadn't considered in that ebb and flow of keeping the same tone throughout the entirety of the conversation and the same depth.
That's a lot.
It's
That's
a lot.
hard.
It's really hard when you're writing a book over multiple sessions. Because sometimes, man, I would sit down and like, depending on what mood I'm in, I'd start writing. I'm like, yeah, this is really, really good. And then like half the time I do that and then realize that I'd already written that same part like a week ago. Just completely forgot. But then I'll go back to it the next day and be like, wow, that was total and utter shit. Like, what is wrong with me?
Isn't that interesting? It's like how you can, you know, I've read, there are a few books that I've read over and over many, many times. Mm-hmm. And anyone who's ever done that, who's had a meditation even, or something, or a consistent routine, you begin to understand that like the routine or the literature never changes. Mm-hmm. How it impacts you does. Mm-hmm. The reason being is because you're never the same person. And we only talk about it from the reader's perspective, never the person writing or creating the thing. Yeah. And even those oscillations on a day-to-day basis, which is kind of what you just discussed.
Yeah.
It's like based on your mood and how you're feeling and how enthused you are at that time, you may write something, and then the version of you 5 days later can look back at it and be like, actually, nah.
Humans are one big like ship of Theseus paradox. I swear. It is like every cell in your body, every thought in your mind is constantly recreated and turned over and reprocessed, and everything that's around you.
I heard someone say the other day, you actually never remember an actual memory or instance. You remember the last time you remembered it. And that to me, I was like, holy fuck.
Well, the mind-blowing thing is like you don't actually remember things, you reconstruct them, because everything you experience is, and if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Everything that you learn is learned in context. Every sound that you hear is learned in context and associated with certain smells and sensations and everything else. Because from a survival perspective, it makes sense that anytime we encounter any stimulus, our brain wants us to be able to reconstruct and remember the environment that stimulus was in, whether it was dangerous, whether it was pleasurable, whether it was positive. But that's why every time you think of something, your brain starts to reconstruct smells and sights and images that are familiar and all that, and it kind of puts it back together, which is why memories can be so prone to manipulation.
Totally.
Somebody tells you that something happened and your brain is like, okay, and recompiles it with that, whatever it is. Well, and I think what's so fascinating about that though is like, I talk about this all the time when it comes to things like getting over sports injuries. Is because like the association of injury with movement and the association of certain things with pain and all that, your brain is reconstructing these terrifying situations, and you kind of have to relearn it to a certain extent. So the fact that that's kind of how your brain works, and your brain is this association engine and memories are all reconstructed, you're like, wow, this is a lot more fluid than I thought.
Zach, what's the best training app on the planet?
It has to be Train Heroic. Gone are the days of sending the old crusty PDF. Now we have a sleek new app.
It's easy to use. There's videos with descriptions. You get to track and log your weight, your reps. There's a community chat function. You can submit videos. You can get feedback.
How about the leaderboard, Tim?
I started using Train Heroic first as an athlete and someone who wanted to learn. Now I use it as a coach. Athletes and other coaches can go and be a part of my training community and get results.
Whether you're an athlete, coach, or just like to train, use the link in our description to find out how you can train on the best app in the world.
And join us on Train Heroic today.
When it comes to laser focusing your thought processes and your understandings of what it is you believe,
I don't know that there's a better way to do that than writing a book. And this is someone who's never written a book, but the power of writing things down in general for me, I'm like, fuck, I gotta do this more.
That's why like things like mission statements, personal mission statements and affirmations and all those things are so powerful and so important, because when you write them down, when you commit them to paper or screen or whatever else, you sort of reinforce the idea that, okay, this is a fundamental viewpoint. This is a fundamental, something that is important to me that I can come back to. And there's something about seeing things multiple times and, you know, having a statement or having a principle be consistent for you throughout the different days and different highs and lows and all of that. That really helps you reinforce and refine what it is that you actually believe. Because I think sometimes we need to be reminded of that. We're not always good at that. Like, it's easy to get derailed.
100%.
Especially like things like, you know, even self-confidence. You're embarking in some athletic endeavor or personal endeavor and you're questioning yourself every step of the way. You need to be reminded of that. All the time, dude. But yeah, writing a book. But if you're not writing a book, then you know what? Write yourself a 1-paragraph mission statement. What am I about? What do I stand for? Write up a 3-page introduction to yourself as a speaker for a presentation you're never going to give.
I bet most of us, if you're listening to this and you take what he just said to heart, and I know this because I've experienced this, if you actually sat down to write, what am I about?
Yeah.
You may be confronted with the fact that you're actually unsure.
Yeah.
That you can't answer that as quickly as you might expect.
Yeah.
It's an interesting experiment.
Yeah, it really is. It really is, because I think in thinking about that, people may discard some of the things like, how do I view myself? What are my core principles? Well, they're this. No, that's not really true.
Is that true?
It's actually more this. But I think it really does help you be honest with yourself in a wonderful way. Not as in a like, oh, I'm full of shit, I guess.
No.
It's more as in like, wow, I actually stand, thinking about it now, I stand for a lot more than I gave myself credit for.
Yeah.
I have a lot of principles that I have never been able to articulate because I've never really thought about it. I've never really thought about the positive ways in that I'm consistent.
Yes.
And I think, like I said, a lot of people don't give themselves enough credit.
Oh, it's so true. It's so much easier to suss out the things you feel like you suck at.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm really terrible at this. It's like, no, but what?
Time management is dog shit.
Right.
I suck. All right.
This is true as well.
Alex, by the way, I think we could do a 3-hour podcast together. I've had so much fun. We're getting to the end of the show.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into some segments.
Cool.
First segment. This is called 3 Things. What are 3 ideas, actions, attitudes, principles someone who's just entering the hybrid space should take into consideration or into action to help them see success, not only for the short term, but for the long term?
Number 1, put on the white belt. No matter what you do, no matter what your sport is, no matter how good you are at something else, when you approach a new sport, you are a white belt. Doesn't matter if you are a 3rd-degree black belt in something else. Like, be ready. And that doesn't mean you suck at it. It doesn't mean that, you know, your D1 wrestler going into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sucks at it.
Right.
But as much as I've said, it's important to know what you're good at and leverage that. It's also very important to know that whatever it is, you are a beginner, and don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't think because you're athletic, you can immediately say, cool, I'm going to get into ultra running and I'm going to go sign up for UTMB in a year. Like, start small, put on that white belt and realize that, understand that the things you're good at took time to get good at.
Yes.
And take that to your new sport. You will have a lot more longevity in it. So that's one of the things.
God, what a great one.
I think another one is kind of related to that is, if you are the smartest person in a room, then you are an arrogant son of a bitch, because you are not the smartest person in any room. There's always somebody in a room who can teach you something. If you're stuck in a room with people, find out the one thing that everyone in there can teach you and learn everything you can about it.
God, I love that too.
That's, man, just the number of times I've learned that over and over again, even just working odd jobs in my life.
Yeah.
And just how much you get humbled by the breadth and depth of expertise some people have in the most unexpected ways possible. And I think the third is, and I know this sounds so cliched, but like, fail big. You know, I mean, and that doesn't mean like do something completely stupid and, you know, just because, but I think, but what I mean by that is like, you know, give yourself some accountability for your failures. Like, let yourself fail.
Yeah. Because
a lot of people, and, you know, again, some may say, and I've said before, it's very easy to set a massive goal and fall short of it and be like, well, see, I tried. Oh, well, but it was a big goal.
Shucks,
so
yeah.
Give me some credit for trying.
I mean, I swung for the fences.
Yeah. But let yourself acknowledge the fact that you failed at something.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, I tried to do this. I didn't do it, but I'm going to keep doing it, because if you're prepared to say, okay, this is what it feels like to go face down in the dirt, you're not going to be scared of it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of fear sometimes in wanting to try something. And somebody's new to powerlifting, and they're so terrified to get out there on the platform, because they're like, I'm not gonna, you know, this is my first meet. I've been a runner all my life. Mm-hmm. I'm so worried I'm not gonna like hit depth in the squat, or what if I fail? Fail big. Get out there, do it. Doesn't matter if you completely bomb out. Be prepared to do that. The first time you do it, it's gonna suck. The first time you bomb out, it sucks. But man, it's like getting rejected. It's like the first time hurts.
Yeah.
And after that, you're just like, you know what, man, this is part of it.
Yeah, I lived.
Yeah.
I made it.
I'm going to do everything I can to prep for it, but I'm not going to be so afraid to fail anymore that I'm going to be afraid to put myself out there. Mm-hmm. So,
God,
yeah.
What an elite list. Goodness gracious. I'll rewind that. Listen to that. That was so good. Okay, this next segment is called Rant and Rave. This is brought to you by Train Heroic. I'm on Train Heroic. Many of us are. Click the link in the show notes and join us there. Alex, when we look at the fitness landscape at large, what is one thing that's rant-worthy for you? Something that you see, they're like, you know what? I'd like to see less of this. And then we'll bring it around full circle. Yeah. And what's something you would like to rave about? Something that you see that you say, I love it and I want to see more of it.
Oh, man. Ranting is hard, because I think there are a lot of things that I'm like, there are things that I hate. I hate fitness gatekeeping. I hate arguments over what sport is better than what other sport. Mm-hmm. I hate fitness elitism. Okay, here's one thing. The whole discussion, this may hit who is an athlete?
I knew it.
I fucking hate that. Look. If we're going to define athlete as an individual who reaches a top level of performance in their given sport, right. Like let's just say if you consider yourself an athlete, you have to have X number of athletic parameters. Okay. That, like, okay, so is a pro cyclist an athlete or not? Is a professional weightlifter an athlete or not? They are very, very focused on their abilities. Okay, so let's just say that it could be single discipline. It can be multidiscipline. Does the level at which you perform have to be a important criteria?
Right. What's the threshold?
A gold medal decathlete is objectively worse in every one of their sports than the most talented high school record holders in the US last year.
Yeah.
That's objectively speaking, like, so what really determines it? Is it the level of the playing field? Is the breadth and depth? To me, athlete is a very simple definition. It is essentially anybody who endeavors to improve physical parameters or mental parameters in any sport or activity. Like, that is it. I think all these discussions on who's an athlete and who's not, everybody in their definition of athlete is going to fall short on something. Yeah. You're going to say, well, an athlete needs to be this and this and this, where you're like, okay.
It has to be a game. It has to be, there has to be.
Right. And it's like, no matter what.
Skill, the argument of skill as well. And actually on this show.
Yeah.
And as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, it's like, look at a marathoner. And someone say, oh, well, they're just running. I'm like, brother, there's a skill
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
Like you don't set a world record
Yeah.
at a marathon by not having skill.
Right, exactly. And it's like, it's easy to understate how much skill there is and how much repetition. And even in some cases, the skill is in knowing how to manage the training psychologically. Like there's a skill in that. There's a skill in the mental discipline needed to do some of these workouts. Like obviously there's physical skill, there's physical optimization, there's running economy, there's movement economy, there's all this other practice they do in all the adjuncts to their training that makes them a better runner.
Yeah.
You look at the hill sprints that they do, or even some of the basic, jumping workouts that some of these marathoners do.
Sure.
There's a skill component associated with it. Not tested in their sport, but it's a part of it. So I think that's really it, is like the gatekeeping around the term athlete, which I think has become part of the whole, like, what's a hybrid athlete debate? I think needs to go away. If you train and compete, even if you're just competing like at a local 5K, you're an athlete. If you're training to improve in a sport or activity, whatever it is, you're an athlete.
I think if you're training and competing, period.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's a wonderful definition.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And then there's just levels to that shit.
Yeah. You're not an elite athlete.
Yep.
But elite athletes are elite athletes. World-class athletes are world-class athletes.
That's right.
That's why there's a label.
All of us.
Yeah. And then there's the rest of us.
Everybody else.
Yeah. I am a solid mid-pack age grouper athlete.
I love it. Okay. Wonderful definition. Wonderful rant. A rave, sir.
A rave. That's another good one. I will give a shout out to a lot of those athletes who are using the opportunity to give back to different areas. One guy I always want to give a shout out to is, do you know Sam Dancer?
No.
Sam Dancer comes from a CrossFit background. Before that, played football, did conjugate, like powerlifting and all that.
Okay.
Wonderful human being. Works a lot with certain special needs athletes.
Oh, wow.
And his level of dedication and love towards those athletes and the elevation of sports and Special Olympics and a lot of other events is phenomenal. And I think what it really shows me is that there are athletes out there who are larger than life in every respect. Mm-hmm. And people can use their platform for whatever they want. They can use it to advance their sport. They can use it to advance themselves. They can use it to get rich. They can use it for whatever else. People who say, people respect me for my ability, therefore I'm going to use that and focus that lens on other people with ability who might be getting overlooked. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, that is awesome.
And I see that in a few places. Sam just came to mind because he was one of the first examples. But if you don't know Sam Dancer, look him up, look at the work he does. I think we need more people like that. I really love those in this space, in the athletic space, who use this as a chance to shine the light on those who I don't think get enough credit.
Yeah. Yeah, what a great, that's a legendary rave, wanting to see more good people do good stuff. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
This segment is brought to you by David Gray Rehab, specifically the foot, ankle, and Achilles program, which I've done. I've used variations of it with my athletes. Zach, who blasted his Achilles off the bone, which I saw happen in person and was recording. I do have the video. One day we will upload it. He's just still got some trauma, and there's more healing that needs to be had. Foot, ankle, and Achilles program is fantastic. Use code TIM for 15% off and lifetime access. Alex, if you weren't a coach, what would you be and why?
Oh, man. Wow. I think I would still be involved to a certain extent, I think, with clinical research of some sort. That was an area I really, really enjoyed. I didn't like the management side of it so much, but I definitely liked, especially now, and I hate to say this, especially now in the day of AI, I think the possibility to integrate different fields of clinical research is absolutely fascinating. I would almost certainly remain involved there, whether it be on the medical side or potentially the performance side. That would be my answer.
Not only is a hell of an athlete, but the guy's smart too. Some people just have it all, man. Next segment.
The knees.
Yeah, my knees.
No.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah.
Overrated versus underrated. We're looking at the fitness landscape at large again. Is there an idea, principle, concept at this juncture as it pertains to health, wellness, fitness, performance that you feel like is overrated? And then on the other end, is there anything that falls under those categories that you feel like is underrated?
Oh, wow. Because there are a lot of cliched answers I could say, like nutrition for both. Overrated. So recovery is extraordinarily important.
Right.
Recovery is also extraordinarily simple for most people. There are a lot of recovery protocols. And this is not to say like recovery from injury or anything else. I'm talking about the average healthy person recovering from training. Recovery,
the day-to-day recovery.
The day-to-day recovery is very, very simple. Like you eat enough, you sleep enough, you rest enough. These are the big chunks of recovery. There are a lot of, recovery techniques and recovery adjuncts and pieces, and you're stepping over dimes to pick up pennies, or whatever the expression is.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not old enough for that expression, but
you nailed it.
But I think there's a lot. There's the specifics of recovery when it comes to devices, when it comes to hyperfixation on like meal timing and hot baths and cold immersions and all that, I think is overrated, not because these things are bad, but because I think people are overestimating the value of these things compared to the fundamentals. And I know that's probably, like I said, almost cliched in a lot of ways, because there are people who are like, oh, you don't need anything, just sleep and eat. But I really think those foundations are so important. And it's one of those lessons that you can come back to a million times and feel like you're learning it for the first time every time. And you're like, wow, I felt so good in training this week. And you're like, oh, right, I actually slept the last couple. And it's like every time that happens, you're like, holy crap, that was all I needed.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people who worry so much about recovery and don't realize that the reason why they're probably hyperfixated on it is the rest of their lifestyle choices suck.
Yeah.
So,
man, what a great point. I wonder too, as you were talking about this, I'm like, you know what this reminds me of? My pattern recognition here is the idea of like, the gravitation towards the science-based lifter and the optimal thing. It's the same. It's I guess the optimal in a lot of ways is kind of what you're talking about, or could be classified under that recovery umbrella, where it's like if I just do this part that's dialed in. And the irony of all this is like the amount of time, energy, and effort that goes into trying to dial in all these extracurricular things that could just be allocated towards like just training harder or like just getting an extra hour of sleep.
Yeah.
That's the mind fuck to me.
Yeah. Everyone thinks they can push through it.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it doesn't matter until they realize that it does.
It matters so much.
It matters so much.
It's like, there's only so much that pre-workout is going to do for you after a while.
And there's a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like, it's kind of like you kind of run
100 milligrams of caffeine can fix a lot of stuff temporarily.
At the end of the day, you're like basically metaphorically held together with duct tape. You're like, all right.
This is, there's that meme, that classic meme, the dog sitting in the house and the house is on fire. And he's like, this is fine. Everything's fine.
Totally it. And,
I love, okay, so overrated and then underrated.
Jumping. Well, we were just talking about plyometrics earlier and the importance of actual movement. And I think plyometrics, just getting out there and literally just relearning how to jump, hop, skip, move, play, move your body. So every single athlete on earth can benefit from that. I don't care who you are. Yep. It improves, because like, let's be honest, reaction time isn't just how quickly you can react to something, it's how appropriately you can react to something. So it improves reaction time, it improves strength, it improves proprioception, balance, running economy, you name it. Every sport, every life, every person can benefit from it. Do it more, even if it's just playing.
Do it more.
Even if it's just playing bloody hopscotch.
Yes.
Do something.
God, absolutely zero notes. Alex Viada is tearing through these fucking segments at a blistering pace. This is incredible. Masterclass. Last segment.
All right.
This is brought to you by Aleco. I still can't fucking believe that they sponsored this podcast. 10% off. You have to use the link now. Okay, so use the link in the show notes. And then anything that you can purchase, that you can procure from said link, use code CoachEmUp10 and you're going to get 10% off.
I am actually going to use that.
I had a conversation with someone the other day and I kind of made a joke about it tongue in cheek, and he said, no. That code helped me a lot building out my home gym.
Yeah.
So we're grateful to them. This last segment is unsolicited, solicited advice. So when do you leave today?
When do I leave?
Do you leave today?
I do leave today.
What time?
Yeah, 6:00 flight.
Okay. So you're going to get an Uber to the airport. You're going to hop into the back of the Uber. And you have your preference set on quiet preferred. this guy doesn't give a fuck. He's going to talk. We're chatting. You guys are engaging in conversation. You're not necessarily thrilled about it, but you're fine. He seems nice enough. And then suddenly it dawns on you. You're overwhelmed, convicted. You're driven, compelled to share a piece of advice with this gentleman. You've got to come around the life and go. Now, this piece of advice could be about anything. It could be about life, training, philosophy, whatever you want it to be. You're going to impart some unsolicited advice on this unsuspecting guys. What is that advice?
I think if you had asked me 10 years ago before fitness watches became big, it would be wear a watch. Because I think more than anything else, metaphorically, it is much more about having some understanding of the value of time. And I have a timer next to my computer, a little turnable kitchen timer. And I realized that when I set that for 25 minutes, I can get a shit ton of work done. If I don't set that and I have 25 minutes, I'll get nothing done. Time becomes infinitely longer and more valuable when you are recording every minute of it and you are watching it expire. If you can set yourself a clock, you wear a watch, and you know exactly how long you have to get something done, and you make most of your life's plans on some sort of immediate miniature deadline, you will be so much more productive. Because when you realize that time is slipping away, you realize both how long and how short 30 minutes is. You give yourself 30 minutes to write 5 emails, you will get them written. You give yourself, if you got a timer.
I'll get around to him sometime today.
Exactly. It was always like that piece of advice. You want something done, ask a busy person. Yeah. So set a timer for your life. That is probably the biggest piece of unsolicited advice, whether it's wear a watch, have a timer, but quantify your time and value your time.
That is fucking elite advice. Alex, man, thank you so much.
Thank you, man,
for coming on the show. I've had so much fun hanging out with you. Dude, this would be great. Have you back again. Do whatever you're loving next, please let me know.
Oh yeah.
And then you know what I'd love to do in the future. I'm sure let's get a vote going in the comments for this made this bar with Alex moving here at some point. The three of us just gotta get in a room and talk shit. Just talk training and whatever.
Done.
That would be a really good time.
All right.
Where can people find you and connect with you? And then give us the name of the new book and when they can expect it.
So Alex.Viada on Instagram, CompleteHumanPerformance.com is my website. That's my company. The book is called The Ultimate Hybrid Athlete. It's out on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, print and Kindle.
So cool.
Dude, I'm so stoked. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Everybody, if you made it this far, go give Alex a follow. Wealth of knowledge. Obviously a good human being to boot. Thank you for joining us and hanging out with us. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Remember, you don't have to live that non-subscriber life. It's just a bad look. We love you and appreciate you. Until next time. Peace.